Hi, my name is Salma Aryaga. I am one of your online astronomy classmates. This is my third year at Lakeland, but it's technically, well, it is my first year out of high school. I took college courses while I was in high school just to get a head start. Um, I guess this class would be counted for me as an elective, but also a requirement because I'm trying to get my associates, just the basic fine arts one, so I can be able to transfer and have like a couple credits so I can go to Kent State next year. Um, my major is accounting. It has nothing to do with science, but taking this course this semester, it was really interesting, and reading all the discussions and actually like having to put the thought and the time into it made it all like really interesting for me. Um, so my topic is the moon, and I want to talk about just like the basics of like what is the moon, how it's important to us, and I want to end it off with like talking about if we would be able to live on the moon or what we would need to live on the moon. So, the moon is a natural satellite in space. There's about like 96 moons in our solar system, but our planet Earth, only has one moon. The moon is about 384,000 kilometers from our Earth, which is like 240 miles from us. It's 3,468 kilometers in diameter, and that is 2,100 miles. So it's like a quarter of the size of our Earth. The moon was born, I guess you could say, created 4 to 5 billion years ago. It was formed from an impact of a Mars-sized planetesimal on Earth. Debris from both of the objects melted together to form the moon. The major divisions of the lunar interior are the crust, the mantle, and the core. Um, the moon doesn't have an atmosphere. It has no liquid water. It has extreme temperatures. It's either really, really, really hot or like really cold. I think in like the daytime it was like 200 and above like degrees, and then at night it gets like to like the low negatives, like negative 300 degrees. The moon also, it doesn't have a lot of gravity, but it has like 1/6 of what we have on Earth. Its lunar features, it has mountains that could be up to 25,000 feet tall, and it has riles, which is trench-like valleys, and it has craters, as you can see if you just see a picture of the moon. You can see all the craters on it, which would be like 1,500 miles across. They're mostly formed from meteorites, and they can also be formed from volcanic action inside of the moon. The moon orbits the Earth every 27 and like a third day. It rises in the east and it sets in the west. It also rises and sets 50 minutes later each day. Um, the moon turns on its axis every 27 days. The same side of the moon always faces us, so like anytime you see the moon, it's always the same side of it. um, the moonlight, the moonlight is just reflected sunlight. Half of the moon's surface is always reflecting light. From Earth, we see different amounts of the moon's lit surface, and the amount that we see is called the phase. And those phases, we learned them like in elementary or middle school, like way back then, which is just like the basics of like the new moon, crescent moon, first quarter moon, like the waxing, the waning gibbous moon, full moon, and all of that stuff. It always took me a while to remember which was the full moon and which was the new moon, if it was like completely there, or like completely not there, or like showing or whatever. Um, Talking about like lunar and solar eclipse, when it comes to lunar eclipse, that's when the moon moves into the Earth's shadow, and the shadow just darkens up the moon, and it happens like twice or 3 times a year. It could last up to 4 hours. And then the solar eclipse is when the moon moves in between the earth and the sun, and it casts a shadow on part of the earth. It happens only once every 360 years from one location. A lot of people believe that someone walked on the moon, like the first person who supposedly walked on the moon, or like the first man on the moon, was Neil Armstrong on July 20th, 1969. But like after like taking, like I always like believed like that there have been people on the moon, but after like taking this course and like getting more into depth with like space and like everything, talking to my little brother, he always told me how there's like supposedly like the flag is like moving and there's like no air on the moon or something, and I don't know, it just like got me thinking like was there someone really like there, like, or was it all just planned out, like photoshopped, I guess. But I don't know. Well, I do believe, like I want to believe that like there was like people actually do go to the moon, because I don't know, it's pretty cool, and like how people go to Mars, well, like the astronauts or whatever, like I don't know, I think that's fun, that seems fun, like I would do that. So also, okay, so Neil Armstrong being the first man on the moon, there was also like the Apollo missions, and there were 6 successful ones. It was 1969 through 1972, and the 6 that were successful were the 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, and 17, and they were basically designed to like land humans on the moon and just bring them back home safely. And I read that there have been 12 Americans who have actually walked on the moon. Okay, so what it would be like to be on the moon, like you have to think of like the length of the day, the atmosphere, the temperature, the water, radiation, gravity, like everything. Like, do you really want to live there? You gotta know how it's gonna be. There's really long days and really long nights. Since the moon spins on its own axis and rotates once every 27 days, like our Earth rotates once every 24 hours. That's a whole day for us. You wake up, it's light, you go to bed, it's dark outside, and the whole thing all over again. The moon's rotation means its day is almost 2 weeks, and so then it's dark for another 2 weeks. On the moon, there would be nothing to breathe. The moon doesn't have an atmosphere, and obviously the atmospheres are important because they protect us from harmful solar radiation and help us to keep the temperatures leveled, as to why astronauts always like have like all of those spacesuits on and like everything, and if they're not in them, they're inside of like their ship or whatever, like just like out there. Like I mentioned earlier, it's really, really hot or really, really cold. The temperatures change so much because there is no atmosphere to moderate it. Extreme changes are bad for the equipment that would be on the moon. There's no liquid water on the moon. There could be like frozen water, ice, in deep craters near poles on the moon. And solar radiation, the levels on the moon's surface are dangerously high. There's no atmosphere to block incoming radiation, so that'd be really bad for us. Also, the moon is smaller than the Earth, but it does have mass. So, like, it has gravity, which I mentioned earlier is 1/6 of what we have on Earth. Because there's less pull on us, we would weigh less on Earth. So, with all of that being said, what we would need to live on the moon would be shelter, power, food, water, Earth communications, tools, equipment, and just ways to move around. Talking about shelter, a lunar outpost would be needed to be like put out there for long stays to maintain an atmosphere for us so we could be able to breathe and protect us from temperatures extremes. spacesuits to protect us from when we would be outside of our base. Like we usually see once people, well, from like what you they have showed is like when people like go out of the ships, they're in like big spacesuits. Like we would need all of that to protect us from what's out there. We would need materials transported from Earth to do all of this, which would cost a lot of money. A natural shelter would be can be found in lava tubes and ancient volcanic areas, but I wouldn't trust that. I don't know. It seems kind of sketchy. Um, so for power, fuel would be like really expensive to transport from Earth. Solar power would be able to be used, be ran through like the outpost. Solar power will have to be stored in batteries for long periods of darkness unless there's a base that like is in a permanent sunny region. But I don't know, like how I said earlier, it's dark for 2 weeks and it's light for 2 weeks. I don't know how that would work. Not very well. We would need to have, well, we need food to survive, obviously, and it would have to be transported from the Earth, and we can't just like take like just like regular food out there. Like they take like dried up food. I've tasted it before. Well, not like actually, but like the ice cream. I've been to the science center like a couple years ago. Well, like forever ago when I was like in 5th grade or something, and they gave us like little bags of dried up ice cream that the astronauts eat when they're up there in space, and I think it's really cool. In my opinion, I thought it was really good. But that's how we would like eat our food, is like all dried up basically. And like when they like drink water, I've seen like videos of like how they come in like a little like container type bag thing, and they like push it out, and sometimes it could like be floating like it's like little bubbles floating in the air, and they just like go and catch it and drink it or something. I think that's pretty cool. um with the water, since there like is no liquid water like on the moon besides like the ice that are like in the craters by the poles, like we'd need to bring like all of that from Earth, which would be like so much money, and like you'd need to have like enough for however long you're staying and stuff. um you'd want to call home. Like there should be like a communications from Earth and the moon, but the Earth is like really far away, like I said earlier, and there would be like they would need communications to um, tell them how the outposts are operating and the health of the astronauts and anyone else who's there. The outposts would have to be in constant view of the Earth to maintain communications, and if they're not, then satellite systems would have to be put up, and that's also a lot of money. Um, Regarding tools and equipments, there we would need to like transport all the tools and equipments to like do all the lunar outposts to build the case and conduct scientific experiments. Also, like ways to get around the Earth, we will need to the people like astronauts would need to find ways to go around the surface, building the outposts, and also like searching for other resources and conducting experiments. The lunar outposts, they would have to be built like safely, like on flat locations that would be easy to reach by foot or either by the moon buggy. Um, in conclusion, all of that seems like, I wouldn't say a waste of time, but it would cost a lot of money, and we have everything here on Earth. I mean, it would be cool to go out to the moon and experience that, but not to live there, I don't think. Like, let me think. I'm from Mexico, and they're really poor there. Like, my family, there's, like, not a lot of jobs, and the jobs that you get paid, like, nothing, like, not even $50 a week in American money. So, like, when we go for vacation every year, I always come back saying, oh, it's good to go for vacation, but it's never good to just, like, live there. So, like, that's, like, here. Imagine, like, us, like, going from here to, like, the moon, or, like, how I think someone's doing their topic on Mars. like us being here and then going to Mars. I don't know. It's not safe. It's so much money. Like I said, I don't want to say it's a waste of time because it'd be pretty cool to do all of that stuff. But in my opinion, I don't know. It's too much out of this world. Um, but and like to like end this, like the moon is like it seems pretty cool. Like if I would have the opportunity to go, I would want to go, but not something that would take years or I'd have to stay there for long or anything. I don't know. I think I'd be like pretty bad at trying to find research or conduct experiments, and I'd be too scared to do all of that. Okay, well, have a great holiday and thank you.